Hello and welcome to the Top Order podcast as we pass the halfway mark of the World Cup. South Africa, Bangladesh and Mumbai. Is Heinrich Klaasen the greatest finisher of all time? Why is Quinton de Kock about to retire from ODIs? And the question everyone's been waiting for, Raj, have South Africa done enough to convince you that they are the real deal? All that and more coming up right after this. Raj, massive South Africa win. They're up to second on the table now. A hiccup against Netherlands, but they crushed Sri Lanka. They crushed Australia. They demoralised England, and now they've dealt to Bangladesh. The question everyone's been waiting for. Are you entertained?
Am I entertained? I am entertained. Have I changed my perspective on South Africa? Look, it's something that's evolving. It hasn't evolved fully. I'll wait until after Sunday morning in the Rugby World Cup final before I start saying positive things about South Africa's sporting teams. But look, they completely dominated Bangladesh here, and that they showed why they are a force in this side if they get to that top four, which all signs are pointing to that they will be a hurdle for somebody to overcome in the semi-finals and then possibly the final.
There's a bit of a slow start for them, though. And if we look back to the batting innings, they won the toss, decided to bat first. It's been sort of a feature of everyone. Even though they see a flat pitch, they decide to bat second and chase. But South Africa seem to like to set targets. But a couple of early wickets. 36 or 25 for 0 turned to 36 for 2, I should say. And suddenly you're thinking, gee, South Africa stumbled against Netherlands. They stumbled, could they stumble again here against Bangladesh? But, they just build a partnership, and Quinton de Kock, I mean, maybe that's the place to start. He looked very, very impressive right from the beginning and then just carried it on all the way through.
Yeah, look, he looked incredible. There was a great question at the start of the pod. Why is he retiring from one-day cricket? I don't know. He looked completely at ease. It was a massive score, and he looked like he actually had more in the tank. I don't know if you saw when he got out. He was extremely disappointed. I think that he was eyeing up a double century there. He looked he was immense throughout the whole innings. Just going back to that little bit of a stuttering start from South Africa, yes, they did. You would have loved, I'm sure, when Rassie van der Dussen was hit in front of the pad, the old laughing appeal from Mushfiqur Rahim from behind the stumps. They were 30 odd for 2 after 10. It was looking like they were in a bit of trouble, but de Kock and Aiden Markram, incredible partnership to get them back in the running and then set that platform which we've talked about throughout this whole tournament, of getting to that around 150, 180 at 30 overs and then just being able to accelerate towards the end.
Yeah, Quinton de Kock, he's got 300s now in this World Cup. His 5 scores before then were 84 not out, 27, 45, 82 and 45 as well. I mean, I think I said it in an earlier episode. I feel like he'll retire and then in 4 years' time, if he's still playing and feels like I wouldn't mind giving this another crack, then, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he says, I'm still ready to go around. I don't actually know how old he is, but I mean, he's gonna go T20 cricket full on now, and I'm sure get huge money and enjoy his lifestyle for the next couple of years at least. But as you say, he's in immense form. He scored his 100 off 101 balls, and then I think scored 70 off his next 39 deliveries. He just sort of hit go once he got that 100 mark, and as you say, he got out in the 46th over. So yeah, I'm sure he was looking at double 100 and plenty of runs to go there. Maybe a word for Aiden Markram, because I think that you said that you talked about platforms, and yeah, it was a bit shaky there. And I think Markram's done that. We've talked a lot about the power of South Africa's batting in this World Cup, but Markram's kind of been the steadying influence, for this group of batters for South Africa that's kind of led them. And I think, when you look at the scorecard, his 60 off 69 deliveries might go a bit unnoticed, but I think it was pretty crucial to the way they built that innings.
Yeah, definitely. Just going back to Quinton de Kock, he's 31 early next year, so plenty of time for him to make another World Cup or two. And Markram, look, his innings was almost as important as Quinton de Kock. You don't want to expose that lower order. I'm being maybe a little bit flippant saying that Klaasen's part of the lower order, but You don't want to expose him to the latter part of the innings and let him do what he does best. But Markram, he did what needed to be done in that situation against the spinners. Just push the ball around, hit a boundary when required, make sure that they're just ticking along at that six runs and over. Made it a lot easier with the legend Quinton de Kock at the other end, just smoking it everywhere. But it was an incredibly important partnership and allowed what we saw at the end there, which we'll talk about shortly, to happen. What did you make of the closing? And I guess when I'm looking at the South African finishes there, Klaasen and Miller, it makes me a bit jealous when that's something that New Zealand might be missing right now. We have the artillery for it, but we haven't quite fired. What did you make of the close?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely on all those fronts. I mean, I said, is Heinrich Klaasen the greatest finisher of all time in the opener? And I mean, that's a bit tongue in cheek, but I mean, he's he's been immense. And I mean, to get 90 off 49 balls, he hit 8 sixes, following up his 109 off 69 or 67 balls against England. He scored 170 off 80 odd balls against Australia before the tournament. I ran some numbers before in September 2021. Since then, so that's 2 years ago now, he's played 25 ODIs, scored basically 1,100 runs at over 50 with a strike rate of 135. And then you trim it back to just this year at 16 games, 800 plus runs at 58 and a strike rate of 151. I mean, the stats are now starting to build up and build up. That this resume that he's putting together is so impressive. And I mean, some of the shots he played, he's just got so much power. That there was one off Shuraful that I just loved. I see you want to jump in. Just go get jump off the back fence about some of those shots because they were great to watch.
The raw power of that Markram, Klaasen, Miller trio is just something to really behold. And if you haven't seen the highlights of that game, you should go back and watch this game. Just that raw power it's just quite scary because if they execute, there's nothing you can do about it, right? No. Bangladesh, they bowled okay in that closing, but they just bowled too many in the slot. They did try a lot of change ups with their pace and bowling a few cutters, but often that would just have Miller sitting on the back foot and then pumping it over square leg or cow corner. And it's just, if they execute, there's nothing you can do. It's going to be very interesting to see what the likes of India and New Zealand, when they play South Africa, do for this lower order. And it may be that there's nothing you can do for this lower order with that power. You need to just get them into the innings early. You can't have them coming in with 25, 30 overs or 25, 20 overs to go because they're just going to explode and it'll be hard to stop them.
Yeah, well, I think they scored 220 or something off that last 20. As you said, scored 144 or whatever it was off the last 10. Yeah, you just got to get them in early. You've got to take wickets and put them under pressure. And I think you mentioned it, didn't you, that South Africa they like to set targets. They like to go out there, I guess maybe when that pressure isn't on as much, go out and set a score. And India's shown in this World Cup, they like to chase. So potentially that's going to be the measuring stick for them. And South Africa's got Pakistan next, who obviously struggling a little bit, but their bowlers tend to be okay at the death. So it'll be interesting.
And the key actually is, and this is what South Africa is doing a little bit differently to a lot of teams, or India hasn't had to do this yet. In the last 20, you said they scored 220 off 20. They scored 140 off 10. They scored 70 odd off 5. It's a sustained barrage of pressure. It's not like they've just come in and scored a massive amount of runs in a short period of time. They've gone 20 overs and scored a massive 20 score as part of their 50 over score. So, very hard to score runs, very hard to contain in that last sort of third of the innings.
Oh, they're going to, yeah, I mean, as you say, that they've just got something that a lot of these teams don't seem to have, and that's, that finishing power. I guess if we look through the other lineups, I don't know that I see it anywhere else, certainly not to this degree. There are players that can go out and do it. I mean, Glenn Phillips is someone we'd hoped was going to do that for New Zealand. He hasn't quite fired, and I think that's been mainly, he hasn't been able to get going in his innings. He seemed to struggle to rotate the strike, and then, obviously played a nice innings against Afghanistan when he had a bit more time to build. But yeah, the South African team, I don't know how much more praise we can really give to their
Mm.
batters. They are just absolutely flying, and they've got Pakistan next, and if we've got Pakistan next for them. There's Australia, New Zealand, and India, England. This World Cup could look very, very. These semi-final spots could look very, very decided almost after those three games. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I guess before we look too far ahead, we should probably talk a little bit about South Africa's bowling and Bangladesh's batting. I mean, the game was pretty much all done and dusted. South Africa got 30, or Bangladesh got off to 30 off for none off six, and going okay. But then Janssen gets 2 and 2, Williams gets one. It's 30 for 3, 80 for 6, and the game is just over after that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the game was over once that Shakib Mushfiqur Rahim partnership was broken. Chasing 380, you need those two to contribute heavily.
Mm.
And once Shakib Al Hassan was dismissed, I think it was 33 for 31 or 31 for 3
Yeah.
at that stage after 7 overs. I was sort of getting the red pen out and giving this one to the South Africans. What did you make of the bowling performance from South Africa? Shared the wickets around once again. I know you must be a massive fan. We haven't talked about this of Gerald Coetzee and his bandana that he likes to wear, his headband. What did you make of the bowlers?
Yeah, there were a few nice things. I liked even at the start of Bangladesh's innings when Shuraful got that first wicket of Hendricks. He did a little dance. So yeah,
Yep.
there was a few nice things, as you said. The laughing appeal. We had a few nice, even though it was a tough day out for some of the bowlers, we had a few nice moments we could celebrate. But yeah, I mean, South Africa looked just clinical in the way that I guess, clinical at the start to pick up those wickets, and then in a way it was a bit of they might look back and think, gee, we probably should have knocked them over a bit sooner if they're going to be really, really critical about their performance. But, when you've got a huge score on the board, and I think full credit to Mahmudullah, who has batted reasonably well in this tournament, scored 100 here as well, 111 off 111, I think, in the end. And I mean, questions might be asked. I mean, I think you asked it in the last time we talked about Bangladesh. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with their order. I know that they've got Tanzid, who they really like up the top, Lytton Das as well, who they rate. Shanto's really struggled so far since a nice 50 to start the tournament. He's hasn't got into double figures since then. But yeah, Mushfiqur, Shakib, Mahmudullah, you almost feel like, I mean, they're at 4, 5, 6 in this order, which is, it's not exactly low down, but you almost feel like now someone like Mahmudullah should just go to 3 and make the 3, 4, 5 those 3 experienced players that can have done it before and been there for Bangladesh, because I mean their tournament's just about over, I think.
Yeah, and when I read the match tournament, the match report, it said that Mahmudullah wasn't actually initially selected in the World Cup squad, which is another interesting thing when you pair that with the Tamim Iqbal sort of controversy. Maybe there needs to be a little bit of a look at what's happening with the selection and selection policies with Bangladesh at the moment, because at the moment they're fighting for 7th and 8th spot rather than 4th spot, which is not where you want to be in this World Cup. I definitely think that they need to rethink what they're going to do, and now's the time to sort of go in a different direction. They might as well have a look at what else they can do going through this World Cup, because what is it, the doing the same thing over and over again and expecting something different happens, the height of insanity, is that the quote? Something like that. And I do need to make an apology to Shanto and his family, since I put some praise on him. He's had some kind of curse on him and he's struggling since I gave him that praise, but we know he's a good batter, and I'm sure he will bounce back and be good for Bangladesh going forward.
Yeah, it's all well and good, isn't it, to sort of back up, or to trust your young players and hope that they perform, and I think we got a bit of stick, I think, on our socials for calling Bangladesh a boring side, and potentially a side that aren't going to
did we get a bit of stick? Or?
It might have been me that said that, and copped a little bit for, and look, they do have some young talent. But it's just not, they're not delivering at this stage. And I think that, look, they have played at a few good sides, and and they haven't really put their best foot forward. And yeah, I don't know. There's always seems to be different controversies with their selection or things in the last couple of years with Shakib, the way he's sort of Matt dealt with himself on and off the field at various times as well. So yeah, it's been challenging, but I think they would certainly have hoped that they could put a better performance so far in this World Cup. I think that Shakib mentioned after the game that they're still not out of it, and in a way that results go different ways this weekend, and I think 5 wins can still get you there, and they can still mathematically get there. But yeah, the way they're playing it looks like their World Cup is all but done. Before we look quickly ahead to the next couple of days in the World Cup, is there anything else you want to add from this game? Any more praise we can throw towards that South African batting lineup?
I guess probably the biggest praise that I could give South Africa is that they're starting to change my mind. They need to keep going, but they're starting to change my mind, and that's a great amount of praise that I could heap upon them.
Fair enough. Well, maybe if they've got a short turnaround now, maybe if they can destroy Pakistan again on Friday night, then you'll be fully on board the South Africa bandwagon. Australia, Netherlands tonight. Netherlands have proved that they can really fight in this tournament. They've obviously beaten South Africa, who we've just talked about, flying high. They've put some pressure on Sri Lanka the other day, and I think they've equipped themselves really well in all of their games so far. Anything you're expecting, or I suppose let's frame it from an Australian point of view, because I mean, as I said, credit to Netherlands of the way they've been fighting, but I think Australia is the side that now all of us are starting to look ahead to, particularly here in New Zealand. We've got them again at the weekend, and they're a side that early on were copping a lot of criticism. The last couple of games they've won, and now suddenly everyone's going, oh gee, maybe it's, what is it, 99 all over again, where they sort of limp into the semi-finals and kind of hit some form and really get on a roll. And they're a side that everyone feels like they're going to be challenging for World Cup titles. What are you looking for from them against the Netherlands tonight?
Yeah, look, with this, we've talked all the way through the tournament about how important net run rate is, and it is important. But at the moment, for Australia, and where Pakistan are, where England are, Australia just needs to win. They need to go out there and execute better than their opponents, the Netherlands, and I would expect them to do that. I want to see a little bit of addressing of the middle order. I'd like to see them score a little bit, and I'd like to see the bowlers go out there with some fire and take some wickets at the top of the innings, just like they did against India when they played them in that one of the early matches. There, so that's what I'm looking for from Australia. We know that their top order have been going all right. Middle order have been struggling, and bowlers need to execute their plans a little bit better. But net run rate almost at the moment out the window, out of the thinking. Just win games, and you actually probably get there if you're Australia if you just win games from here.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I will say I would not like to see any of that stuff happen. I would like to see Netherlands put them to the sword and them go into this New Zealand game really, really hurting. But yeah, I think you're spot on, and that Australia it's sort of in Australia's hands now. They put the runs on the board, win these games, and they're back in this tournament, good and proper. I think that's probably a good place to leave it, unless you've got anything else to say.
Yeah, just one more thing. I imagine if we were playing those, pick the order kind of things that a lot of those agencies put on, who would have picked this sort of bottom five after pretty much halfway through the tournament, with Bangladesh at 10, England at 9, Sri Lanka at 8, and then Netherlands at 7, and Afghanistan at 6. What an incredible tournament it has been for those teams. And for Sri Lanka, England, and Bangladesh, there's some real sort of embarrassment to kind of avoid here. They need to start winning some games and make sure that they beat the teams that they should beat over the next half of the tournament. Otherwise, we could see something really special. I mean, we talked a lot about before the tournament, what is a good tournament for the Afghanistan and Netherlands. We didn't talk about what is an absolute disaster for the likes of Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and England. And at the moment, they're on course for that.
Yeah, absolutely right with Afghanistan. They're right in the hunt now. If they, I think they've got Sri Lanka and the Netherlands to come, and then they've got Australia and South Africa. So look, they are. Yeah, I wasn't on yesterday's episode, but they're right in the hunt now after that win, and I think they'd be backing themselves to get at least 4 wins, and then you've just got a shot to try and get one more and get yourselves in this semi-final spot. And England, their tournament, they've got England against Sri Lanka and then against India, and their tournament could be over after those 2 games, if not after the first one against Sri Lanka. So yeah, it's as you say, very, very surprising to see a couple of those sides so low down. It can swing pretty quickly, and we'll see what happens over the next couple of days. But as the Top Order podcast, we'll be here to bring you all of that action. Thank you very much for all your comments and kind words on social media lately, YouTube channel. We're getting a lot of really positive feedback and a lot of new subscribers and all this interaction. It really, really helps us. So continue to please do that. And we'll be back again tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you again very, very soon.